you make music that you are very proud of. You send it to big labels, they don't even answer, because there's a lot of people making music and they might not even have the chance to listen to your music, whatever. Or they might like it, but it's not kind of on the line of the sound of the label or whatever. So it's all very subjective and you cannot take it personal. So sometimes it's a consequence, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what is very clear is that we have to be connected with what we do and do our best with what we can change, not with what we cannot change.
You're listening to the Mission Makers Show, a podcast that inspires humans to get into the mindset of success. My name's Farah Nanji, and I'm the founder of a business in the motorsports industry that explores leadership lessons from things like Formula One. I'm also a DJ and music producer in the underground electronic scene, and a public speaker on key topics like resilience, building high-performance teams, overcoming learning difficulties, and stimulating creativity. And to tie it all together, I love writing thought-provoking content as a journalist for these industries which are so unique in themselves. On this show, I'm sitting down with some of the most inspiring and driven people I've met around the world to talk about their processes, their failures, the lessons they've learned, and how they are truly making an impact for this world. Welcome to the first episode of season 4 of the podcast. I'm honoured to be opening up the season with a man who shares a similar outlook to life as me, with music being his yin and racing being his yang. At the tender age of 19, Jaime Alguersari blazed into Formula One, etching his name in history as the youngest ever driver to start a Formula One race at the time. The record was broken by Max Verstappen, as most seem to be these days, but 6 years later, when he competed in F1 at just the age of 17, and the sport shortly changed the entry age to 18 since then. But Jaime raced for the Red Bull family at Scuderia Toro Rosso for 2 years, and he left a defining mark on the sport. But his story doesn't end at the finish line. Shortly after, he shifted gears and he pursued his passion for electronic music, becoming a world-renowned DJ under the alias of Squire. He's released on highly acclaimed labels from Mobilee to Get Physical, played at some of the best venues in the world, from Amnesia to Carl Cox's residency at DC-10, who's also a massive petrol head and mission maker. And more recently, he formed a DJ duo called Pole Position with Loic Lejolif, who's the founder of Brunch Electronic in Barcelona. And on today's episode, Jaime will take us on a journey through the intersections of speed and sound, sharing incredible insights into the mindset of an F1 driver. And anybody who follows F1 will know just what a huge pressure there is when you're under a Red Bull contract, and how that mental resilience and fitness training has carried over into the flow of his musical work, as well as a lot more. I love connecting the dots between the worlds of music and motorsport, so I'm super excited to have Jaime here, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Jaime, it's an absolute honor to have you on Mission Makers today. I've always said that music is my yin and racing is my yang, and so it's awesome to meet someone who's actually taken both those worlds to like the highest of heights. So first and foremost, how are you today? Where are you joining me from?
Well, very nice to meet you. I'm also very glad to talk about also my yin and yang, because racing and music have always been very, very present in my life. Still are, both of them. Haven't forget any of those. And I'm talking today from my studio here in Barcelona. This is the place where I spend most of my time every single day, making sounds and strange noises.
Nice. What kind of sounds are you making at the moment?
Well, making music is a very challenging thing, because you always try to surprise yourself. You listen a lot of music through your life, and you have an idea of what you like, what you don't. Of course, this is super important when you DJ, having music culture from the early 70s, 80s with different genres and so on. But when it comes about building your sound, it's something else. And for me, it depends a lot on my feelings. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm not that happy, sometimes I feel super energetic, sometimes you have an idea nowadays, thanks to the technology and the evolution of development of technology. It's more simple to kind of make an idea or write a single beat or something, which it already triggers something to develop into a song, which is great because, nowadays I can take my laptop everywhere and build something that it looks kind of interesting. So music making, it's everywhere, and inspiration is everywhere. It's just about how you see it and where you see it. It's all here,
Mm.
It's all in there. So it's very challenging nowadays to be happy with the music that you finish, and the whole process is hard because there's a lot of time and effort behind the music, but also in other aspects. Also when I was racing, I was training twice a day, 4, 5, 6 hours, simulators. It's a lot of off-track work. So every single job, if you want to do it right and take it professionally, you have to invest and spend so much time behind it.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to talk a lot about those habits of success and really mentally preparing yourself to do that. But just something you touched upon there was developing your signature sound. And I just wanted to quickly elaborate on that. Like, was it quite difficult for you to develop that signature sound and be happy with it? Considering what you said about, like, of course, you have music influences and cultures and like what you listen to, but actually creating your own style and your own signature, like, what was that like?
Well, I think life is changing every day, and also we are changing. So everything is like an evolution. I don't feel like when you kind of because like 5 or 6, 7 years I was doing like a very different music than what I do now, but I don't feel ashamed at all. I just feel proud of what I was doing before, even if the sound wasn't as the quality of the sound wasn't as good as now. My knowledge also wasn't as good as now, but this is part of your signature, and it's part of the evolution and the development that you do in the music business. It's part of the whole career of an artist. So there's always like a little signature, but again, like last year I wrote my first album, which was released on Mobilee, and I didn't feel, because it was written during the pandemic, so I didn't really feel that there should be a dance floor song. So everything was more kind of going towards the pop and down tempo electronica conceptual kind of sound. And I really enjoyed doing this because this was like another story to tell in an album, and we normally do write dance floor music. So it always depends on the period of times when you make the music. So that's why I feel you have to accept the moment and you have to write the music that you feel without trying to copy something or trying to work for let's say specific label or a specific sound. You just try to be yourself, even if it doesn't work for a short period of time. I think in the long term it's gonna be beneficial, because you kind of gonna be gaining your audience and your whole sound.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to find fulfillment through, I mean, there has to be fulfillment at the core actually of the whole mission and the whole drive. So if you're adapting to fit to a certain label or a sound, then quite quickly you're going to get trapped into the constraints of creativity within those parameters in a way. I'm actually quite curious to know, like, obviously, being a driver means being quite fast. Does that speed come into your production process at all?
Maybe I've never thought about it. I work quite fast. Sometimes, of course, it depends on the creativity and the ideas you have in mind, and you take more time to finish a track, or sometimes you just finish it in a couple of hours. But I think what I've learned from my previous job and career is the routine and discipline that I take things when it comes to music.
Mm.
So this has helped me a lot, I think, because being in the junior team of Red Bull, it was a very hard process because you were committed to win races, otherwise you were going out of the program. There were tough days there, I didn't party, I didn't see my friends at all. It was just work and hard work every week, every weekend. So this is what I'm doing now, some sort of, in a way, and this, I think, has helped me to have this kind of discipline, going early in the morning in the studio and having this routine of work, training hard still for my mental health, which is always important. Sometimes being here spending here too many hours is not good at all, because you have to flow with the ideas, and also you have to kind of let it go. When it's time to let the songs and the music rest, it's important to clear your ears up and maybe go and do something else and train or be with your friends. So all these habits have helped me to develop my working process and working method through the years, of course.
And what came first in your life as a passion, music or motorsport? Or do they kind of come simultaneously?
Well, I started motorsport when I was 8 through my dad, because my dad used to be a bike rider, and they introduced me into this, of course. I liked it, and I won a couple of races, and then started to go to travel to Italy, where this is like the competition gets more professional. And I did a couple of championships in there. I got selected for the junior team. So I got my first contract when I was 15. And then the whole thing started to get more serious. At the same time, my parents used to go to Ibiza since 1975. And they used to spend their holidays in there. So they used to take me with them. So I built many relationships in Ibiza, every single holidays, every year. So my friends used to play records, they used to buy records. At the time, Beatport and other music platforms were not really developed. So somehow you still, the vinyl market was still very strong. And it was very nice, actually, because it all started as a competition of who had the best or the most powerful record out there. So we used to, you used to play music in a basement between all of our friends, and share records and music, and try to show them who is playing the coolest record out there. So it all started as a friend's kid's house, in a kid's house, and since then I really felt connected with the music and started to listen to more music. And there was a point where when I reached Formula One in 2009, I really wanted to make music. I really wanted to kind of, I want to build this, even if it's not sounding great, but I want to start something here. So when I had my free time with my laptop, I started, starting to play around Ableton, even if I had no clue of what I was doing. But there was somehow my start into the music world. So yeah, my first record was in 2010. So yeah.
If you want to hear the rest of our conversation, then head over to Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you get your podcasts.